I've switched countless PMAX campaigns to standard shopping with improved performance, and it's fairly simple, but there are a few mistakes I see happen all the time, especially if you're not used to making the switch. So stick with me, and in this video I'll show you how to diagnose your current setup, transition without killing your ROAS, and avoid the 3 most typical reasons I see agencies fail when switching from PMAX to standard shopping. So let's get into it. Number 1. Before making any moves, you need to understand what's actually driving results in your PMAX campaign. This will be important to avoid the top reasons why switching will fail that I cover at the end of this video. To begin with, we have 3 things to look out for before making the switch to standard shopping. Checkpoint number 1 is you need to pull up your channel breakdown. It doesn't matter if you use a script or you look inside of Google Ads with the new channel breakdown report. You just need to go into your PMAX reporting and look at where your conversions and your spend is coming from. You'll see search, shopping, YouTube, display, Gmail, and maybe even a bit of Discover. Here's the most important thing. If shopping is doing all the heavy lifting, then you're probably fine to switch. You're not probably fine, you're definitely fine to switch. But if search is a significant portion of your conversions, like I show here, then you need to dig deeper, and I'll have more on that later in the video. When it comes to YouTube and display, again, if you barely see anything there, then you're fine with moving from PMAX to standard shopping. But if they're pulling in any solid conversions, you don't just drop them. Plan for either standalone YouTube and display campaigns to take over that load, or retain your PMAX campaign but without any product listings. In most scenarios, you'll see most spend goes to shopping anyways, and then you just need to do a little bit of check to make sure what is spend is actually happening in search, which coincides with checkpoint number 2. You need to check if your branded keywords are included in PMAX. This is critical. You want to know how much of your ROAS is coming from branded terms in both search and shopping. That breakdown matters a lot for setting the correct ROAS target once you transition to standard shopping. And I really can't emphasize this stage enough. This is where most people get it wrong, and I'll show you a fail-safe way to get around this. If you haven't already excluded brands from a PMAX campaign, then I'll show you my fail-proof, foolproof way of getting around it. Checkpoint number 3, if you're getting fewer than 100 conversions per month inside of PMAX, be careful. If you're under 30, you're basically flying blind trying to make the switch. The algorithm will have basically nothing to work with when you switch to standard shopping, and it isn't going to magically outperform. You'll have the same problem, and it actually will have an even bigger problem because you don't have search and shopping together, so you'll remove the data even further. There are 2 cases where I'd still go ahead with the switch, even though you don't have a lot of conversions. Number 1, if you're switching proactively to grow shopping volume and you understand the risks, then go for it. Just keep your expectations in check. This isn't a magic bullet. It might not work, but if you're doing it because we're overspending in search or display or video or anywhere else, and shopping is actually looking pretty good, but for some reason PMAX isn't scaling that channel, then moving to standalone shopping that's the reason why we're doing this. The second case is if you're cleaning up a bloated campaign and removing products that barely convert. So again, if you look at your top 100 products, you remove the top 5 that aren't converting, but they are spending, then taking all these products that aren't converting and moving into another campaign and retaining 80-90% of your conversions in your main standard shopping campaign is still a good move. The only thing I just want to say, look at the split up of conversions across shopping and search. If you're having 100 conversions and it's like 70-30 or 60-40, that combination might be why PMAX is working, because you have shopping and you have search together and you're aggregating the data, and that might make it actually work. It might be tough to scale, but that might be why it's actually just doing some kind of work, and switching to standalone search and shopping might not work at all, or it might be great. So the second thing that we want to look at is campaign structure and what campaign structure to choose. So this video is about how to transition from PMAX to standard shopping. It's not how to choose your ideal campaign structure, but I still wanted to touch on it just because a successful switch to standard shopping is all about finding the right campaign structure. The core concept we have here is that we want to match our structure to our marketing strategy. So again, if you're having a pretty basic e-commerce store where you have some bestsellers and you have some normal products, that might be where you want to go. If you have a DTC brand, you might want to choose a hero campaign and then another campaign for add-ons. If you're running some sort of price monitoring, you might want to have a price sensitivity split or price monitoring split where you have a campaign for all the products that are priced competitively and another campaign for products that are not priced competitively. Now, again, I don't want to go into all details with all this. We have another video and another masterclass on this, but I just want to say don't overcomplicate the campaign strategy. Choose the simplest setup that matches your marketing strategy and adhere to the minimum conversions I've mentioned earlier in this video. Again, minimum of 100 conversions per campaign. I'd like to get it up to 300. So that's kind of where you are. You can always expand the campaign structure in the future. One of the advantages of standard shopping is how easy it is to test different campaign structures in the future. Now, let's talk about how to actually make the transition. So for the first part, campaign target and budget. If your PMAX doesn't include branded search, then just copy the same ROAS target from PMAX to your standard shopping campaign and start spending. I would say careful with matching the budget. If you have like a budget of $1,000 per day, but you're only spending $500, then match the spend. Or if you need to be extra cautious, start at 50% of your average daily PMAX spend as your standard shopping budget and then start increasing over time. If you do have brand included in PMAX, this is what I teased earlier. This is where people will mess up, so we'll spend a little bit of time talking about this part. You now need to break out your non-brand ROAS and your brand ROAS before even thinking about setting a target. So again, you want to go in, you want to look at search terms, want to see what's the branded versus non-branded split and figure out what's the ROAS for brand, what's the ROAS for non-brand. At the time of this writing, we can't split the search terms data up in shopping and search. So you're stuck having to guess how much goes to search and shopping if you're spending a lot on brand and PMAX. And the key caveat here is if you're spending a lot on brand in your PMAX. That's a bad idea, right? But it's also if you get a lot of conversion value from brand. You might want to pull the brakes on switching. Let me show you what I would do if I was in your situation and what we've done in similar situations to have a more of a careful transition. So the way this looks is that you start out with a 400% ROAS in your PMAX campaign. Now what we do is we want to exclude the brand. What then happens is that the brand terms for shopping goes into our standard shopping campaign, which we've created for the purpose, of course, and we do the same thing for search. So by excluding the brand, we now get a clearer idea of what is our PMAX actual ROAS. And what a way it looks like ROAS will most likely go down. So it falls down to 300%, 900% in the standard shopping for brand, and 3,900 for search. That's good because where we had it before, where it was a mixed bag in PMAX, we had a ROAS of 950 in search and 598 in shopping. Those numbers are completely wrong, it looks like. But the example still applies. All of a sudden, we'll move over to what happens when we remove the brand. So all of a sudden, we have a lot lower ROAS, and that's kind of what we're looking at. So when we're setting up standard shopping, now we know, okay, standard shopping shouldn't be at 400% ROAS target. It should be at 300%. You get what I'm saying? So by this part, we actually know exactly how much our non-brand shopping is supposed to be from a ROAS perspective. And that's kind of what we're trying to do here. We're trying to find the exact target to set for standard shopping and not just have a mixed target for everything. Now I just wanted to just quickly go through some campaign settings in standard shopping because it can be a little bit daunting. I feel it's simpler these days in PMAX, but I can see where it can be brand new for some people. So just do a quick 2-minute walkthrough. So from a conversion goal perspective, you want to just do account default or whatever you normally do from a campaign perspective. Don't mess with customer acquisition. Don't mess with value rules. The merchant is the same as in PMAX. Feeds, same thing as in PMAX. Inventory filter, we normally don't touch it because we manage these on a product group or ad group level. So there's not a lot there. Bidding is the biggest difference in standard shopping and PMAX. We don't want to have a target at the campaign level. We want to have a portfolio target. So either we can create a brand new portfolio strategy or we can use an existing where we group some campaigns together. But in any case, we want to use portfolios from the get-go because that way it allows us to use minimum and maximum bids and give us some more options to be flexible in the future, especially if we break up into multiple campaigns. More on that in our standard shopping video. So budget is fairly similar. I typically like to use shared budgets if we have multiple campaigns because it ensures that if one campaign is limited by budget, then the search terms and stuff like that doesn't go over to the other campaign. I want to make sure we have a clean split that our bidding and our campaign priorities cover. So shared budgets is best if you're not just having one campaign. This is crucial if you're using any form of non-brand and brand split. On a campaign priority setting, just make sure, like if you have one campaign, this doesn't matter at all. whatsoever. This is internally in the account. If 2 products match the same search term, then the product with the highest bid and the highest priority will get the click. If you have multiple campaigns, we're going through this in the standard shopping video for how to actually do this, but I just want to mention it in here. We normally have search partners enabled just because we rarely see wasted spend in shopping for search partners. So we usually have it just enabled until we have proof of otherwise. Everything else is, as you know, the ad rotation has no impact whatsoever. I don't know why it's a setting in standard shopping. Now, when it comes to actually transitioning from PMAX over standard shopping, there are 2 good ways to do it. Option A is the gradual campaign overlap, and this is my personal go-to. You launch your standard shopping campaigns, you run them in parallel with PMAX for 1 to 2 weeks, and after 1 to 2 weeks, you're most likely seeing that there's not a lot of spend going into standard shopping. If there's a lot of spend, you were absolutely missing out, and moving to standard shopping will be great, but most likely you're not going to see that much spend in standard shopping. 10% or something like that. So now what we need to do is you need to force more spend into standard shopping by making PMAX lower its bids. The best way to do this is by increasing the ROAS target on PMAX. So in week 1, we have a 500% ROAS target on both campaigns. Then we start switching over, so PMAX goes up to 550. Then the following week, 600. Then 700, and we stay at 700, and we'll most likely start seeing more and more spend goes over to standard shopping. And once you're at the 50-50 mark, switch over to standard shopping. Do not tempt fate by letting this run for much longer, where you split the data in between multiple campaigns, no matter how good it looks. Switch over and let standard shopping take it from here. That's what it's supposed to be. Option B is the inventory-based migration. Like, again, if you have got a massive catalog, thousands upon products, you can migrate in phases, like 20% of your SKUs at a time. And the way we do this is, it looks slightly complicated. It's not always a week-to-week process. You always have a little bit of an overlap. So you start at 100%, then you go in 100% in PMAX, 20% in standard shopping in terms of the number of products. Then you remove the products from that you have in standard shopping from PMAX in the following phase. And now you do 80-40, 60-40, 60-60, 40-60, 40-80, 0 to 100%. So it sounds slightly complicated, but what we're trying to do is we're always trying to have one overlap of where there is the same 20% products in both campaigns, and then we turn them off from PMAX. I get a question a lot. Should you start standard shopping with a lower ROAS target? And in my experience, there are 2 buckets. If you have more than 500 conversions per month, and if you have less than 500 conversions per month. In the first bucket, if you have more than 500 conversions per month, then you don't need to set a lower ROAS target. It typically just works. But if you have less than 500 conversions per month, then you're safer setting a 10 to 20% lower ROAS target to ensure it gets traction to begin with, especially if you can afford it. There's also a lot of other advantages with starting out at a lower ROAS target. Typically, if you've got a lot of data, it's not necessary to do in the beginning though. Now, there's 3 main reasons, and this is the part I've been teasing this entire video. There's 3 main reasons why you get a lower performance after switching from PMAX to standard shopping. So I'll start from the bottom up. Number 3, your ROAS target is just wrong. It doesn't align with the performance from your non-brand shopping inside your PMAX. This is the main problem. This can also be on a channel breakdown. It can also be on different. It can be that you missed having, there was a lot of performance from search. It means that you didn't get a DSA campaign, and all these things that we've already talked about. You have a couple of options here. You need to revisit your brand versus non-brand performance, and you need to set the proper targets. If you can't do all this, try to just lower your target on your standard shopping campaign. It works pretty well. And then go back, revisit the channel breakdown. Did you miss any conversions from any channels? Most likely this is search. There are 6 different channels. Search and shopping are the ones where we get the most amount of conversions in PMAX. Just go back and review it. Did you check it? Number 2 reason is that you have simply just too few conversions to train new campaigns. Again, anything below 100 conversions per month is very tricky in my opinion. There's a couple of caveats here. If you started during your lowest point of the year, then you might just need to try again later in the year where you have more conversions. Another reason for having too few conversions is you've split your campaigns too much. Here you need to go back to a simpler campaign structure to consolidate your data and make sure that Google has something to work with. And number 1 is you chose the wrong campaign structure. It's that simple. You probably thought that some of these campaign structures sounded awesome, so you tried it out, but it's too complicated, you split the data out too much, or it's not really aligned with what performs in Google. There is a difference between what happens to your marketing strategy and what works in Google. So in this case, preferably try to just simplify first. Just have a simple campaign structure with standard shopping. And once you've gained like a 20% better performance from when you were running with PMAX, now you can try more complicated campaign structure. The second question I get a lot is, can you run both PMAX and standard shopping? And no, not in the way that most people try or that most people actually want to. What works is if you have a PMAX with a non-brand and a standard shopping campaign and a brand setup, or if you have a PMAX where that's your main campaign and standard shopping works as just as a 5 to 10% fallback for gaps that PMAX isn't covering. But it doesn't work for running the same products to test what wins. You just end up splitting the data and killing both campaigns because Google thrives on consolidated data and learning. So to summarize what we learned today, don't switch from PMAX to standard shopping without doing your homework. Look at the actual branded versus non-brand conversions and understand what volume you're working with to set the proper targets. Second thing is to choose a campaign structure that reflects how you run your business and that aggregates as many conversions in as few campaigns as possible. And 3, when you make the switch, do it gradually. Either overlap for a couple of weeks or move the inventory in chunks. That was it for me. Comment if you've made the switch or you need any help, or if you have any questions for how to do this. Don't forget to subscribe for no BS Google Ads advice. If you're into practical PPC insights that you can actually help you, then subscribe. I share tips, breakdowns, and call out what's working and what's not. No fluff, just the stuff that you can use every single week.